This tribute is to a dear friend and to an extraordinary man with an incredible heart who I looked upon as a brother. Gary, on the other hand, looked to me as a huge cuddly happy bear, and that is the nickname he gave me from the first winter that we spent with his family in the mountains. When I first landed into the USA in August of 1987, Gary was waiting for me with a sign at the arrivals terminal. He and his family had volunteered to be my host family during my graduate studies at Berkeley. It was an act of giving that taught me a lot about life. There is no doubt that Gary, Cindy, and their son Derek helped me acclimatize myself to USA culture. We shared a love for photography, the main difference being that he was a professional whilst I an amateur. Together with Cindy, they were also gracious enough to host me at their cabin in the Sierras. It is here in the mountains that Gary taught me how to do macro photography. His shots, like a detail of a flower above, were exquisite. He had the ability to bring life to the subjects he photographed. For example, he had the artistry to bring to life even dying leaves. My first Christmas in the US was spent learning how to ride a snowmobile. Coming from the equator, it was indeed a memorable experience. But like with his giving, Gary was a great teacher. Christmas was a time where I got to really know both of Gary's parents. Quality time spent in quality surroundings. Gary always made sure that Derek got to have a different childhood experience. They visited me every so often to iHouse to make sure that I was behaving and doing my homework. And of course, they always joined in the fun when there was an opportunity, like my birthday. Gary started coming to my presentations at iHouse, and as a parting gesture, when I returned back to Kenya, he presented to me a macro lens as a gift. His generosity knew no bounds. Over the years, when I was in Kenya and then when I moved to Florida, we kept in touch, and Gary would always show up whenever we had reunions in the Bay Area. And he was definitely there in person this past summer in the largest reunion we have had of our International House Uhuru Avenue group. It was at this get-together in one of the most storied halls in Berkeley that Gary was conferred the distinguished title of Minister of Hospitality. One of Gary's special traits was that he was a patient listener and gave his full attention to whoever was talking. And it was rare that you would see him on front of stage, but when he did come forward to speak, he was indeed gracious and polite and full of wisdom. From his cheerfulness that evening, one would never be able to tell that this humble gentleman had cancer. He was still full of life. His time in Pakistan had opened up his taste buds to all kinds of different foods, and here he is seen leading Steve and Adnan to the international food section at iHouse. By far, his favorite food was Mughlai cuisine, and he remains the only Anglo-American I know who ate Indian food every single lunchtime. Any guesses as to what food was catered during what has now come up to be the Last Supper we had with Gary at his and Cindy's house?
My presentation was related between urban and nature. And I was showing photographs, not mine, some mine, mostly of some others, especially some of National Geographic, about all these instances going on around the world at the edge of urban areas between wildlife and humans. And so I'd love to get your a couple of these shots. I'll add it to next time I do a presentation.
Did you see the hawk eating the mouse?
No.
That's longer ago, though. That's
And here is the hawk and the mouse. Until the very end, Gary kept up his passion for photography and yes, took some brilliant photos. He was so proud of his time in Pakistan that he shared his memories and experiences with the younger generation. And being a true teacher, he continued to share his knowledge of photography with the millennials. Dawn, do know that if there was one thing that Gary was proud of, was that he cleverly introduced you to Ryan. I bet he was at the top of the world when you got engaged. Cindy, Derek, Michael, and Dawn. Over the years, I've met several presidents and prime ministers, many celebrities, and hundreds of well-known personalities. But I have to say that Gary was without doubt the one with the most open and loving heart. You all were indeed blessed to be living every day with a 1 in a billion soul. Especially in this world where we are becoming more and more divided, Gary was a true gem. My last morning with him happened in the same place as our first morning exactly 30 years ago. 1165 Lime Ridge Drive, Concord. And my last memory of my bro was of him choreographing his photos. This photo he took of the bear and his wife Liz will forever be treasured. Gary, may your soul rest in eternal peace. Shabash, my friend.